I like Billy Joel. You ought to know by now. What's that song? Hackensack. Working too hard can give you a heart attack. You ought to know by now. You know that one?
Good morning, sweet world, and welcome to the No Dunks podcast on the Athletic Network. It's Tuesday, April 15th, 2025. I'm Jay Skeets here in the Classic Factory, and alongside me, as always, Melas.
If you're a fan of the NBA play-in games, this one is for you.
Next to him, it's my top shot hot boy, Kerby. Ayo. And over yonder, continuing to make the Disney magic happen, paying off his pick'em loss from last month, it's Eshua Kid, a.k.a. Yoda.
How y'all doing?
No, you're doing the voice wrong.
Doing how are you?
You're so good at the voices too, man.
Thanks.
Fantastic.
Appreciate that.
Ash dressed as Yoda here. Got a tight hat on, I guess. Woo, the whole fit.
Look at you. You're
the Jedi Master.
The only thing we purchased though was the the Yoda ears.
Yes.
Everything else was just personal collection.
Yeah, man. Halloween. I got kids.
Can you take the hood off real quick?
Yeah.
Because hey, it's sort of Shrek.
I thought we were going to see Scooby-Doo. I thought the impression was a little more Scooby-Doo.
Scooby-Doo, huh?
Sorry, man. Sorry to insult
sounding
you.
like Yoda?
Yeah, let's hear it again.
Let's hear it. Okay, so...
That's
Scooby.
Yeah, Scooby-Doo got a...
Damn.
Oh, you look good, man. Well, you look fantastic. A new Disney costume every day this week for Esh here in the factory. We got a fun one today, though. We are going to discuss the Suns firing another head coach. They're still at it. And the Pels are canning David Griffin. And what does that mean for Zion Williamson's future there in Orleans? But it's officially time for some playoff previews. The first round of the 2025 NBA playoffs tips on Saturday, and a 3 versus 6 seed series between the Knicks and Pistons figures to be one of the more exciting opening battles here, maybe in the first round. The Knicks, they risked their future for a chance at a better present. They brought in Karl-Anthony Towns. They brought in Mikal Bridges during the offseason. It resulted in a 51-31 record. Good, but an 0-10 record against the top 3 teams in the league. Bad. Meanwhile, the Pistons have already exceeded expectations. They jumped from, 14 wins last year to a 44-38 record, and they played the Knicks exceptionally well this regular season. So here we go on Saturday. Let's break it down, Tass. What's one thing you're watching for in the 3rd-seeded Knicks versus the 6th-seeded Pistons?
Well, I'm going to keep it real simple to start. I just think game 1 is super important. If the Pistons are going to win this thing, they can go pluck game 1 from New York, which they won in Madison Square Garden twice this season, just to keep the young vibes going and feeling comfortable in this entire series. That is super important, especially because the Knicks, they have buckled a few times this season against the extremely good teams and against the really good defenses. Only 9-20 against the top 10 defenses this season, which Detroit makes up one of them. Now, I can't decide, is it more important for the Pistons to be able to score or be able to stop this incredible Knicks offense? But I think defensively is the more important thing, because I think Asar Thompson, an extremely young guy, is going to be guarding Jalen Brunson. And in that pick and roll situation with Brunson and Karl-Anthony Towns, I think they're going to take Jalen Duren off Karl-Anthony Towns, put Tobias Harris there just to make sure Karl-Anthony Towns doesn't get that pick and pop flowing too hot. And Jalen Brunson is going to have Asar Thompson, an incredible defender, flying all around him. But if Brunson can put him into any sort of foul trouble, this young team may buckle from there. And so that part's extremely important on both those sides of that pick and roll guard. Jalen Duren, you go guard Josh Hart. They're going to let him shoot a ton on that side. And then if the Pistons get flowing on the defensive end, that's where they start running. They're incredible at the fast break points. They're second in fast break points this NBA season. They get into the paint. They're 5th in NBA paint in the paint in the paint?
Points in the paint?
Paint
No,
in the point,
paint in the
paint.
paint's points. I like the point in the paint points. And so if they feel good on defense, and obviously we'll get to their scoring, that's a problem. But anyway, if they start early with this Knicks team that hasn't handled pressure all that well this season, it buckled a little bit there when it gets to big games. That's the important part for me. Start this series right for the Pistons.
Okay, I'm with you. I think the Pistons are going to win one of these two games in Madison Square Garden because I think we're actually going to have a pretty good series here. So I hear you, be it game 1 or game 2. What are you watching for in this one, TK?
It's all about Cade Cunningham. There's a chance for him to make his name really known in the NBA, playing in his first playoff game, which will be in Madison Square Garden. Very similar to Trae Young in 2021. Hit a game winner in his first playoff game in Madison Square Garden. It still gets brought up to this day.
Yeah.
30 points per game, 8 assists per game for Cade against the Knicks this year. Shot 56 from the field, 52 from 3. Shot the ball really well this entire season, was even better the second half of the year. So he's peaking at the exact right time. You got to worry about the bright lights factor, I think, with regards to the Detroit Pistons, because they do have Tobias Harris, Malik Beasley, Tim Hardaway Jr., Dennis Schroeder, guys who have playoff experiences, but Cade, Jalen Duren, Beef Stew, Asar, Ron Holland, these guys are all going through their first playoff matchup. Mm-hmm. It's going to be interesting to see how they keep their heads when Jalen Brunson is grifting free throws. I'm with you. Length kind of bothers Brunson. Like Kelly Oubre did a very solid job against him in their first round series against the Sixers last year. Held Brunson to 43% from the field, 33% from 3. But he also went to the line 10 times a game. That can frustrate a Pistons team, that doesn't think they should be fouling that much. And, how do they maintain their heads going forward? But I think it's going to be fun to watch Cade, most importantly in this one. He's got a game that feels like it's tailor-made for the playoffs in that he can get inside and finish over the top. So that to me has been like Cade's biggest improvement this year, is like he figured out he's strong. So he can go in and shoot some hook shots, can actually score in the lane. That's going to be big for the Pistons because they might not have enough scoring to keep up with the Knicks, and that's the huge worry here. We're mentioning how bad the Knicks are against the top 3 teams in the league. They're not playing one of the top 3 teams in the league. They've got a better starting 5 than Detroit does. Detroit's probably deeper, but I don't know how much that really matters for the Knicks because they'll just play their guys 45 minutes.
Yeah, Cade demolished every pick and roll coverage that the Knicks and Tibbs were throwing at him in those regular season matchups. Tibbs loves to have his big, drop back. He loves to do that. And when they did that, Cade was comfortable hitting those threes. He would get that big pick, be it from Jalen Duren, maybe Beef Stew, and he would then just comfortably step into that shot. And what'd you say, 52% from deep in the series? You can't imagine it's going to remain that high, but he needs to be aggressive. He needs to take that if it's there. And then it'll be interesting to see if they switch up and approach that pick and roll differently. And then
or they
switch
double
on it. Or double it and get it out of his hands.
Yeah, I think that's the important part.
Force it out of Cade's hands and make, Beasley, Tim Hardaway Jr., whatever secondary scorer that the Pistons may or may not have trying to beat you. Yeah, it's probably a good strategy.
Yeah. Do they have a number 2 guy to really help out? That's a fair question with this this Pistons offense.
It's going to have to be Schroeder. Beasley is a good shooter. Mm-hmm. Tim Hardaway Jr. is a good shooter. They're going to let it fly, no doubt about that. But putting the ball on the floor and actually doing something with it, that's the Dennis Schroeder job more so than their catch and shoot guys. So I think that's a huge ask for him to be the second scorer on this team and to take over when Cade doesn't have the ball, because that's absolutely going to be the plan for the Knicks. They're going to say, somebody else beat us. Mm-hmm. We'll take our chance with any of these guys. Dennis Schroeder's on his 3rd team this year.
Yeah, they're going to start it by saying, all right, Mikal, OG guard him one-on-one, but Cade has done an incredible job just against anybody who guards him, whether it's in transition and then in the post. He'll take care of that, but then they double, and somebody has to do a part. I mean, they ran the Dennis Schroeder and Jalen Brunson combo. Dennis Schroeder and Cade combo, and it worked at times, but he's coming off the bench. There's got to be somebody who does it in the starting lineup. There's going to be something on Tobias Harris. Yeah. Okay. I know there's just not a lot of options. Jalen Duren's going to have some dunk opportunities. He's going to dunk a lot. He'll help, but yeah, that's the problem with the Pistons. Whether or not they have enough scores. Now, they got 3-point shooters that can rain it down, whether it's Tobias Harris or Tim Hardaway, obviously Malik Beasley and Cade Cunningham. Are the Knicks ready to get out to all those shooters? It's just if the Knicks aren't ready to play from the get-go. Again, they did not only against the Cleveland, Boston, OKC. Everybody knows they're 0-10. Not good. But they did flail against good teams in this league at times. And so are they just ready to get out to those shooters? Again, the Knicks, an incredible offense. but they also don't shoot the three all that well. So, or they don't shoot the three all that much, I should say. So they're not just going to score more points than you just because they shoot threes. So that's a good thing for this Pistons team if they can score a lot. But that's the biggest question. I mean, can somebody help out Cade?
What's an X factor for either team in this, TK?
The three-point shooting for the Pistons is absolutely the X factor. New York, 24th in makes this season, 27th in attempts, like Tass is saying. They don't bomb away from three. Detroit, not much better, though. 20th in makes, 22nd in attempts, and they've got guys that are so streaky. Tim Hardaway Jr., a career 36% shooter from three. In the playoffs, he's 33%. Beasley, a career 39% three-point shooter. In the playoffs, he's 36%. Had a good series last year, actually, but they need him to be over 40. I think they need both of those guys to be over 40. They need Tobias Harris to be aggressive, and they need Duren to stay out of foul trouble, because when you're like lining up the second scorers, it's like we're talking about Beasley, THJ, and Schroeder versus Karl Anthony Towns.
Exactly. And most NBA contenders, they do have two guys, or one guy on the floor all the time that's an elite scorer. Like, you look at a lot of rosters. The Knicks have that in Brunson. Like, let's not forget, Brunson was stringing together 40-point games.
Yes.
In last year's postseason. Now he's got the injury and he's coming back, so is he going to be hampered a little bit? Maybe. But you're right, Karl can still do that, 30 or 40 on any given night. So they have two guys. Yeah, the Pistons, after Cade, and if you really force it out of his hands, who makes you pay? Who's the second guy? Who's that secondary scorer? So that's going to be a big question mark. But those guys, you guys said it. I mean, they are streaky as hell. Like, there are games where Beasley, of course, is on fire, or even Tim Hardaway Jr. Maybe even Tobias has got one in them, and they're gonna just have to do it by committee to win the series, right? It feels like, hey, that's the Beasley game. Hey, that's the Tobias Harris out of nowhere game, and maybe piece together 4 of those to take this series. Do you have any other X factors in this?
Well, for sure. I think the Karl Anthony Towns factor is important, but I think that's why they take Jalen Duren off of him and put a guy who can get out to him on the perimeter to take away his three, make him put it on the floor as much as possible, make him play post play as much as possible, where he's not as great passer and doesn't have to shoot as many threes. So that's how you take away Karl. It's to get Toby out there as much as possible. Get rid of Karl. And again, they won twice in that building this season, so I think they have some confidence. It's the question. How will they be able to play under those bright lights for the first time for a lot of these guys? And it'll be super duper fun. That being said, they just got to hope also that the Knicks ain't rolling all that well offensively. Like Jalen Brunson, hopefully he's still banged up. He looks great, though. I mean, I think he looks totally fine. OG Anunoby is not himself, doesn't seem like either. You know, he's coming back every couple games here the last couple weeks of the season.
He had a really good final 4 to 6 weeks, though.
He was
the best
a monster.
OG had played, yeah.
He was a monster.
And he's going to be on Cade a lot more, too. He saw time from here and there, but it was a lot of Mikal Bridges. McBride, was getting switched on him a lot. OG will get a lot more of that, I think, too, in this series. Yeah.
But then he left with an injury. He didn't play against the Pistons recently. That being said, I mean, they should have enough guys. So I think Mikal Bridges is his questioning his assertiveness just to help out. Is he going to drive? Is he going to do that type of thing is going to be important. But I think Josh Hart, who was a monster against the 76ers in round 1 last year, I think he was probably the key to them winning. Him bombing away from 3, he'll be allowed to do that in this series. Jalen Duren's going to say, all right, go ahead. Let's see what he can do. And he's freaking great. He's good at so many other things. He's going to probably have another good series. The Knicks just have so many freaking options here.
How many games does it take for us to get a little bit of a brouhaha between these two squads, with the potential of obviously the Pistons play hard, especially we're looking at you, Beef Stew, and then maybe some of those guys on the Knicks, or do you think this will be a pretty even-keeled series?
Who's the fighter on the Knicks is the question.
Yeah.
I think it's probably Mitchell Robinson. He'll be matched up against Beef Stew a lot since they both come off the bench, both underneath the basket. You saw Mitchell Robinson got involved with Joel Embiid last year with the old grabbing of the ankle down underneath. So probably game 2.
Yeah.
I think the Pistons will try and push the envelope in game 1, and then the Knicks will hit back in game 2.
Yeah. Or you bring off PJ Tucker for 2 minutes to fight.
That's a great point.
Wow. And he had
That's why they signed him.
Yeah. And he had a little brouhaha with him when they just played now.
Yeah.
That's what he's there for.
I don't think you want to see PJ Tucker playing too many minutes in the postseason if you're the Knicks, but I hear you. Another X factor I have is just the Knicks taking care of the rock, taking care of the pumpkin. Don't turn it over, because you said it, Tass. Detroit ranks very high in percentage of points coming off fast breaks. And in the one game the Knicks did beat the Pistons, they took care of the ball. I think they had 10 total turnovers. That was it. Those other games they lost, it's 15 plus, right? It's 15 turnovers, it's 18 turnovers, it's 17 turnovers. So that's something to keep an eye on, just how much they take care of the ball, because Detroit wants to score that way. Because we just talked about, like, they don't really have that secondary go-to guy, so you got to get some of those easy points, and that's with their defense, which has been elite. I'm excited about this one, so let's get into the prediction. Tass, you get us started. Where you leaning? How many games here for New York, Detroit?
I'm taking the Knicks in 7. I think the Pistons have a lot in them defensively. It feels like a long series to even say the Knicks in 7, but I do think the Pistons are ready to fight, ready to scrap, just defensively. I think they have been on a string for a long time now. I mean, they started the season poorly, but the last 4 months have been awesome for them. So I do think they will be able to guard the Knicks' incredible offensive players and hang with them, especially because, the Knicks don't necessarily rain it down from 3, so this ain't a math thing. That being said, they got too many offensive weapons to lose 4 games to the Pistons, I do think. So that's a lot of respect.
That is a lot of respect for a team that was brutal for 5 seasons. To go to 7 against a team that, coming into the season at least, was considered a championship contender. Yeah. They've probably gone down a tier since then, but you got Knicks in 7.
Yep, I'm
Madison
doing it.
Square Garden taking Game 7. Where are you going, Trey?
Knicks won 51 games this year. They're a very good team. I think they're going to win this one in 6, and that's me giving the Pistons respect because I want to pick the Knicks in 5, but the Pistons have been so good the second half of the season. They do play defense. I actually think Towns is going to completely dominate this series. I think he'll be the Knicks' leading scorer. I think if the Pistons try and guard him with Tobias Harris, good night, game over. Too small, and he'll get killed on the glass as well. I think that's going to be a major area for the Knicks. That's how they punked the Cavs back in the day. The Cavs came in as the bigger team, and the Knicks just offensive rebounded them like crazy. It was Hartenstein and Mitchell Robinson at the time, but I think they can big boy them a little bit here. So give me the Knicks in 6.
Knicks in 6 is the picks. I'm with you, Trey. I also have the Knicks in 6. I am excited about this series. I have been saying since it was a possibility that we were going to see these two teams match up that I do think Detroit will steal one, throw it in air quotes, in one of these first 2 games. And then it's like, ooh, we got a real spicy series suddenly. So whether it's game 1 or game 2, I think they take one of those in Madison Square Garden. Maybe it's the big monster Cade game or one of those wild card guys that hits 7 or 8 threes, and it's 1-1 when we go back to Detroit. But ultimately, I got New York taking care of business. And look, this has been an incredible season already. Regardless if they get swept or win or whatever, Detroit, what a year, what a building block with obviously the new coach and these new young guys and Cade like blossoming into an All-NBA player. But ultimately, I think the Knicks are going to be a little too much. So Knicks in 6 for me and Trey. Knicks in 7 for Tass. And what did the people say? They had about 2 out of 3 people picking the Knicks to win the series.
We got 63% Knicks, 36% Pistons.
Okay.
1% abstaining from the vote. See results, I guess.
Yes, okay. All right, let's move on to the Bucks and Pacers. They're set to meet in the first round of the playoffs for the 2nd consecutive season. They'll actually start the 2025 NBA playoffs with the first game on Saturday at 1 p.m. Eastern. And hey, Pacers fans, it's not on NBA TV. So that's good. Oh. That's big. Pacers went 4-1 in the 5 meetings last season, followed by that 4-2 victory in the first round. Of course, Giannis didn't play in the playoffs. Things have flipped this season, so far at least. Bucks took 3 of 4 in the regular season, and the Greek Freak, he's playing. And man, he's playing some of the best basketball of his damn career with the numbers he's putting up. So, number 4 Pacers versus the number 5 Bucks. We run it back. Trey, you get to start here. What's one thing you're watching for in this series?
I guess the starting lineup. There's still buzz that Damian Lillard could potentially return for this after suffering from deep vein thrombosis at the end of March. Seems unlikely to me, but I don't know. They're keeping the door open at the very least. The good thing for the Bucks is that Giannis is slated to be playing in these games. He's played 3 total playoff games since 2022, and that's the question for me. Can Giannis win this series by himself? Because without Dame, I don't know who else is really going to be a big scorer from Milwaukee. Giannis is clearly their biggest advantage. I think almost every other matchup tilts towards Indiana in this one, but Giannis, 30, 12, and 8, shooting 65% from the field against Indiana this season. Also a terrible matchup for Indiana because after the All-Star break, Indiana is 28th in points in the paint allowed. That's what the Bucks got to do. They got to ride Giannis. He's got to average probably 35, close to 40 points per game, and he's got to have the ball every single time because that's the way they can slow down the Pacers. This is a big pace series. To me, the Bucks do not want to see Indiana running, so a smart thing to do give it to your huge guys and take up a whole bunch of time. It's like a running back. Just give them the ball. 3 yards, 3 yards, 3 yards. We're going for it on 4th down. Tush push. That's what it's going to have to be.
Brook Lopez tush push. Let's go.
Wow, what about the Portis push?
Oh, that works as well.
Yeah, it's also good. But I think they got to play slow. They got to go to the free throw line, and Giannis has to make these free throws. They got to make it ugly. Otherwise, I think the Pacers could run away with it.
Yeah. Can't help but think of football when you think of these two teams. That was the Tyrese Halliburton play that they set up in the corner to get Giannis, foul him, and hit that game winner earlier this week.
They legit ran a football play. It's a good point.
Yeah. So
it would be game 1 in Milwaukee if he didn't hit that shot.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. These are two similar teams when it comes to that long ago, but compared to last year, this Bucks team is totally different. I mean, they were running out some odd lineups last year where they didn't have Giannis, obviously, but they were starting Patrick Beverley, Chris Middleton, Bobby Portis had to start, and Damian Lillard, who's not going to start, I assume, this series here. So it's just very, very different, but they lack athleticism, as you mentioned, Trey. The Pacers, if they're just going to run it down the Bucks' throats, that's going to be a problem. Can Taurean Prince and Brook Lopez and Giannis get back enough? And that's why they went to a weird zone defense to end games this last month or so. With Giannis playing the 5, they went Kevin Porter Jr., Gary Trent, AJ Green, and Bobby Portis. Zone it up, be as athletic as possible, and score enough. And it is vastly different. Those guys I just mentioned, a lot of them coming off the bench. Last year, that Bucks bench was terrible in this series. They were so bad. No one had a 10-point game in the playoffs off the bench. Like Pat Connaughton was playing, Jay Crowder was playing, Danilo Gallinari was playing, Andre Jackson.
And TJ McConnell was like kicking their ass.
Yeah.
Was he not? He was amazing.
Those guys are friggin' old as molasses.
Gallinari was in the league last year.
Yeah, and
that's crazy.
Yeah, and they're playing zone just to keep him able to play some defense. Hey, Andre Jackson was part of the rotation off the bench. Now he's gone. AJ Green was the other guy who's supposedly better, as I mentioned, playing those end-of-game zone defenses. That's what they're going to go to try and stop this Pacers team. And Giannis is going to be playing the 5 and just hope. Because they do look different. The Bucks bench does look different. They can't score. Kevin Porter Jr. has looked really good recently, offensively.
I'm watching Siakam's elbow, which I sort of had forgotten about. He injured not too long ago, and he's been bad for the last little bit here. Probably hampered by it, his right elbow. Scoring 18 points per game, can't hit a 3 right now, so I don't know what the impact that's having, but he needs to be big because he was a monster in that series last year. He started games 1 and 2 with 36 and 37 points respectively, and has played well against the Bucks even in the regular season, despite maybe not winning a lot of these games. So Siakam is important. I mean, it's Halliburton gets obviously his face and his image on the thumbnails for this series, but Siakam is an all-star and has played in a ton of playoff games and has played well in a ton of playoff games and is important, I think, for the Pacers to try and repeat what they did last year, going pretty far. So wonder how bad that hurts, or if this was just a sort of just rest them down the stretch here and get them ready to go for the postseason. X factors in this, either side, TK.
I think it's all the dice roll guys for the Milwaukee Bucks. I'm talking about Kevin Porter Jr., Kyle Kuzma, and Gary Trent Jr. I think the Bucks just need those guys to hit more often than they don't. They've got so many more variance guys than Indiana does. And without Dame Lillard, which when I'm making my picks and predictions here, I'm factoring in no Lillard on this one.
He's going to play. I mean, hold on. If he plays with blood thinners, you're not supposed to travel and stuff like that. Could it be a case where he just plays maybe in Milwaukee? Is that a possibility?
I guess it's not a very long car drive.
I guess, that's true. Just jump on
5 hours
bus
would be my guess. I don't know.
I'm with you though. I don't think he's going to play.
Same. I'm assuming he's not going to play when I'm factoring in this, which is why specifically Kevin Porter Jr. is a huge player. I think in this series for Milwaukee, he could win you a quarter, but they might need him to win several quarters. He's so up and down, but he's a good athlete. He's a good creator with the ball in his hands, and the Pacers will do everything they can to stop Giannis and live with anybody else. And he's the guy, I think, that is most likely to be able to create something when plays break down. I guess Portis is a little bit like that as well, but he's a masher sort of player, just like Brook Lopez is. So Lopez and Portis got to play well, but I think they need to have a surprisingly great series from Kevin Porter Jr.
Yeah, as far as the defenders go without Damian Lillard in there, you're starting Ryan Rollins, most likely. And he's a decent defensive player. He's going to be guarding Tyrese Halliburton, so that's better than what happened last year in this series. Kyle Kuzma is probably going to be guarding Pascal Siakam. It's better than the options they had last year, throwing out Bobby Portis last year a lot at him. So I think defensively they should be better. Wait, it's such a questionable team because Indiana just kicked their ass running fast break points. They're plus 52 in last year's series, and that just killed them. Mm-hmm. So will they be able to get back is the biggest question. And then they're probably going to go to Kevin Porter Jr. to end games a lot. It is high variable players. You get some good, you can get some real bad amongst the KPJ and Gary Trent and AJ Green. There's so many of those guys. Kevin Porter Jr., those numbers to end the season, he's playing great. There's no doubt. Last 5 games, 20 points, 6 boards, 6 assists, 50 and 44 from the floor, 50% from the field, 44% from 3. And that's just 5 games. So I think, that's nothing. But the last 15 games, 13, almost 5 boards and 4 assists on 39 from the 3-point line and 48 from the field overall. Yeah, the question is, can these guys come through in the playoffs? It's a fair question. There's just so many high variable players.
And we think of the Pacers as run and gun and an awesome offensive team, and they are that, like top 10 in the league overall, and have even turned it on as of late. But like once they got Nesmith back, once they got Andrew Nembhard back, they're actually like a pretty solid defense too. Like those guys are elite defenders, so I can't wait to see them try and shut off some of these Bucks players. But it comes down to what you said at the beginning, I think, Trey. It's like it does feel like it's Giannis versus a very deep Pacers team that have a lot of guys who we should note have also Benedict Mathurin now. They didn't have him in last year's playoffs. He is there. He's a guy that like lives at the line. He gets there, so he puts pressure on the other team, gets them into foul trouble a little bit, and that's where he goes. So they've like just got so many guys, the Pacers. But can Giannis like just be like the example of, well, don't overthink it when it comes to a series. Who's got the better player, the better superstar? But it's them, and no one would deny that. The Pacers wouldn't deny that. The Pacers fans wouldn't deny that. But is that enough? And what does he need to put up? Like you're saying, it's got to be 35, 40 in at least 4 of these games.
Well,
to pull
he
this
averaged
off.
30 a game for the season, so
sure
to go up.
Yeah,
He has to go up.
yeah. I don't know. Prediction. Where are you going?
We've barely talked about Tyrese Halliburton at all in this series. Pacers are 25-3 when that guy scores 20 or more points. He was awesome the second half of the season. He might make a run at an all-NBA team, and I don't necessarily know that the Bucks have a great matchup for him. Rollins, maybe. He's a little small. Prince, I think, will get a lot of time on him as well, but I think it's going to be a Pacers series here. I think this one feels like a toss-up if Lillard is playing to me, but no Lillard. I'm going Pacers in 6.
Okay.
Yeah, this is a tough call. I find it hard to bet against my countryman, Giannis Antetokounmpo, losing for the Milwaukee Bucks 3 straight times in the first round is just hard to imagine. But, yeah, the Damian Lillard factor is a factor. And I wonder if this Ryan Rollins, Kyle Kuzma versus Tyrese Halliburton, Pascal Siakam is a bit of a bonus for them, just if Giannis can carry them offensively, really. But defensively, at least they know what they're doing, and then they're going to throw out, again, a zone to really finish games. I think Doc Rivers is going to be pulling that baby out. So I'm betting on Giannis. It's tough. It's tough in this matchup to see this Pacers team. That was freaking rolling. 40-17 their last 57 games. It's freaking awesome. And to add in Benedict Mathurin, like you said, that's a freaking great team. But I'm taking Giannis. I'm taking them in 7 to win in Indiana.
Wow. Okay.
Why not? I mean, it is a quick trip. As you were talking about Damian Lillard getting in a car, it feels like a home game
You
to
consider
them.
5 hours a quick trip?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nowadays.
In
It's
America?
a quick, long trip.
A quick long trip. Okay.
Yeah.
You can stop at Quick Trip for some snacks
Sure.
on the ride.
So you're going Bucks
Yeah,
in 7.
Win it in Indiana.
Isn't it something like Giannis's Bucks have won 1 playoff series since the championship?
Yes.
Wild.
Yeah, it must be
That is
22, right?
crazy to think of when you
Steps
have
to
it.
success.
No, he obviously hasn't been there in some of it or banged up in some of it, but that's crazy. All right, I like that we're a little different here with TK taking the Pacers. You got the Bucks. I am going Pacers in 7, so I think it's going to be a very long series. But I'll take that home court advantage for Indiana in Game 7. And I just think over the course of the series, that depth and more guys in Siakam and Halliburton. We didn't even mention Miles Turner, who's played really well this season, in all honesty. That depth is just going to outclass Giannis, really. And then these supporting players. Like, you're telling me Kevin Porter Jr. has got to be important?
He does, but
And he does.
Kuzma?
And I agree. Kuzma, he does.
Championship.
Like even Bobby Porter Jr.
But last year their depth was stinky. as I said.
Lillard and
yeah.
Giannis were out.
Yeah.
Yeah, Lillard played part of it.
Yeah.
And so Giannis gets in there, so their depth is way better.
It's
Yeah,
better.
for sure, but I'm just saying
This is going to be a series.
Their depth was very bad last year, and so it's questionable this year, but it can't get worse. Then their guys off the bench at Pat Connaughton, Jay Crowder, Danilo Gallinari, Andre Jackson, they weren't scoring.
Yeah. I just think both teams are better than what we saw last year in the first round.
This is true.
The way Pacers have played recently, and of course, obviously, the Bucks having their guys back, at least Giannis. So I got Pacers in 7. What do the people say on this
tough one.
Where are they going?
The people are saying 54% for the Indiana Pacers.
Okay, so very tight. Almost
54-45.
Okay.
Just never adds up.
I'm excited.
4 hours and 43 minutes from Milwaukee to Indiana.
Oh, okay. It is shorter.
Wait a second. This just went to Indiana. Indianapolis looks like it's a little bit longer.
You just hit the border.
I gotta add Polis.
Now I need
Indiana
to know.
Polis. Wait, how's it faster? That doesn't make sense.
Whoa.
It didn't go as far east. 4 hours and 19 minutes via I-65.
Okay.
One of the most
highways.
boring highways to drive on.
Really?
I-65 through Indiana. Yeah.
Just
There's
fields.
nothing.
Yeah.
There is nothing. There's corn.
Corn. Yeah.
There's more than just corn in Indiana. Shout out to Indiana Beach, but you don't see any of it when you're driving on I-65.
I believe it. I've only been there once and got on that highway even. There was nothing happening.
All right. Well, we don't think Lillard's playing, but maybe he'll be driving through cornfields. We'll see. Let's hear your predictions. Obviously, drop them in the YouTube comments below for Pacers Bucks. Okay, we got some news to talk about. After missing the NBA postseason with the largest payroll in league history, the Suns fired head coach Mike Budenholzer on Monday. Everybody make your bud face. Competing at the highest level remains our goal, and we failed to meet expectations this season, the team said in a statement. Our fans deserve better. Change is needed, also said in that statement. Trey, how surprised were you that Bud got canned after one season?
0% surprised. We heard that David Griffin was let go, and we're like, is anybody else going to be let go by the time for tomorrow's show? And instantly it was, Bud.
Yeah.
They just haven't done their post-season, press conference stuff because they're on the West Coast. So once they finally got to it, of course he was fired. That's just how it goes. And Phoenix, it didn't work with Mike Budenholzer. He was supposed to come in, fix the defense, and make the offense a little bit more cohesive. Everything actually got worse. On that side, they somehow got worse on defense, and then you've basically heard for the past month, including yesterday, all of the drama that was in the locker room for the Phoenix Suns. It was like he asked Bradley Beal to play like Drew Holiday, and Bradley Beal didn't want to hear that.
Yeah.
Don't disrespect me by asking me to play like another player.
Like a champion.
Who's better. There's also apparently beef between Kevin Durant and Bradley Beal. Beal wants to be there. They don't want him to be there. Kevin Durant doesn't want to be there, but also didn't want to be traded where he wanted. Now he's going to be traded. For whatever reason, Mike Budenholzer played bowl 20 minutes a game for 20 straight games. That was when he was trying to get fired, but apparently they just had to wait till the end of the season. So I don't necessarily think it was Bud's fault that the team was a disaster, but he definitely didn't make it any better.
No. And in February, remember, Chris Haynes reported that Budenholzer called Devin Booker into his office, and he told the star guard, hey, man, you're being too vocal on the court and during timeouts. And I guess Bud asked Booker, hey, could you just chill out a little bit? And Booker found that shocking. I think sort of rightfully so. I'm trying to sort of lead the guys here, and you're asking me to chill. They both downplayed that incident. I remember we talked about it at the time, but the writing's sort of on the wall there. You're losing everybody here. Nobody. And there are reports, people that are close to this team, that Budenholzer just did not really get along with anyone, or people sort of tuned him out and did not like him all that much. Now, is it his fault they were bad? Nah, probably not. Because how many coaches can we just keep doing here with this team? Yeah,
the locker room just stinks in general. I think this is the worst scenario in the NBA, really, for a couple reasons. Because of what they put in that locker room, the players, and simultaneously what's happening with the CBA. I mean, little flashback here. 2 years ago, they had the Kevin Durant, Devin Booker trip to the second round. That was all right. In the first year, them, along with Chris Paul, the most important part, actually, I should mention, they go to the second round, they lose to the eventual champs, the Denver Nuggets.
Right.
Yeah, decent. Chris Paul got hurt in that series. Then they come out of that season, they say, you know what, we're going to trade for Bradley Beal. We're going to give up Chris Paul. And everything we got, every single draft pick we got, they traded so many picks for Bradley Beal, for a guy who they asked to play like Drew Holiday. He ain't going to play like Drew Holiday? I mean, he's just not going to play like Drew Holiday. He's not going to be a defensive player. He's not going to be a great point guard, as we saw. So there's just a big mistake there in terms of who they got and how much they gave up. So now, along with the CBA, that limits you a lot when you're paying everybody so much money and you've given away every single draft pick. I mean, they've really just messed up the whole scenario there like no other team can. I mean, it was a bad simultaneous thing to happen when the CBA was signed and they trade for Bradley Beal and give away everything. I mean, they really can't do anything. They're paying all those guys so much money. It just handcuffs what they can do in terms of trades. And they've given up every single draft pick. So, yeah, blame Bud like you blame Frank Vogel last year, sure. But really, I mean, the front office has to be blamed. And there's reports that they may keep James Jones around, whose contract is coming up here at the end of June. Mm-hmm. But really, I mean, it starts even higher. It starts with Ishbia making these decisions. I mean, the Kevin Durant trade right when he got there, okay, that was fine. Again, a second-round appearance, but then going to get Beal for everything you got. Yeah, I was wrong about that deal because I thought Beal would help, but what they gave up was a ginormous mistake.
Yeah, do you think James Jones survives here? I mean, he's been there for a long time. I think since 2017, maybe 2019, he's been in a lead role. And like you said, the Athletic reporting, we'll wait to find out his fate, whether he actually gets another contract extension. But what do you think? He did build this team. He was the architect of these trades.
Did he?
Or was it Ishbia?
Yeah. Exactly. Well, I mean, that's why he might continue to survive, because it doesn't actually feel like James Jones is the one calling the shots, but he'll take the shots from the press. This feels like a Matt Ishbia team, and he's the one making the calls. Are you letting James Jones pick another coach? He's not the guy that picks the coach. It's whoever Matt Ishbia wants.
Yeah.
So he'll probably stay. It's good to have yes men around.
Yeah, maybe. This will be the fourth time in the last 4 seasons they're doing a coaching search there.
I think Devin Booker's 8th coach in Phoenix.
That's what it will be. That is insane.
If he's still in Phoenix.
Yes, right. He's played 11 seasons?
Yeah.
Maybe?
Yeah.
All-time leading scorer.
That's crazy. 8 different coaches?
It's a lot. Yeah.
That's crazy.
It feels like if you're going to get a new coach, you're probably going to just trade Kevin Durant and try and get young parts to work around Devin Booker to be this new team. Again, I mentioned Chris Paul. They need that kind of player around Devin Booker. I think that's clear. They need somebody to run the show, be vocal on the court, even though Mike Budenholzer reportedly doesn't like that. You need somebody to run the locker room because it just was not working with Durant and Booker.
I still think it is so funny that the Suns started 8-1. They were like one of the hottest teams through 1/8 of the season. They were on fire, and then Durant went down with a calf strain, and it really knocked that team into a tailspin, and they never really fully recovered. Right, like when KD played, it's not amazing. They were 33-29, but at least it's a plus 500. And then when he wasn't out there, they were garbage.
Yeah.
They could barely win.
And and they got to 33-29.
I mean, fine.
Obviously, he was an incredible offensive player. He had an incredible season. He
Yeah.
was damn good, so they can beat you with points. But then the other end, it was laughable.
Yeah.
Watching them, they didn't care.
They didn't care.
No.
So, do we think Ishbia? I wonder what he does here. Like, does he go get a big name coach? I mean, a couple are obviously available after getting canned, or is it lean into more of an up and comer, a new voice, a younger guy? You trade Kevin Durant. You do whatever else you can. You maybe try to keep it Booker. Like, I don't know. Where would you go if you were running the Phoenix Suns? What would
if I was running the Phoenix Suns, I would trade everybody possible, Devin Booker included.
Yes.
That's what I would do. I don't think that's what's going to happen. I think they'll go after a younger coach like I think John Gambadoro, very plugged in, and Phoenix was saying that Taylor Jenkins and Michael Malone, 2 guys who just got let go, very successful. They're not really going to be options for the Suns. They're looking for somebody on the younger end of things. I guess Willie Green is a potential candidate for them, depending on what ends up happening with New Orleans, though it feels like they want to keep him. Gambadoro also said Beal's not going to play another game for the Suns. I don't know how that's going to happen. Nobody wants to trade for him. We just saw that.
buyout?
You're going to stretch the last 2 years? Turn your 2-year problem into a 5-year problem? Sounds like something the Suns would do.
Yeah. I don't think that's a bad idea.
But
and it's a thing for Matt Ishbia. He would be willing to take some chances.
Maybe so.
Yeah.
Maybe so. But they need to completely clean house and basically start over to rebuild it, because building around Booker at he's 28 now. He's almost 29. It ain't happening for him in Phoenix. he had his shot with Chris Paul. They went to the finals. They almost went back to the finals the next year, and then it was over. So they should completely start over. But more than likely, it'll be Durant out, figuring out whatever happens with Beal. Wouldn't be a surprise if he's back because he gets to call the shots with where he wants to be. Because, wow, he got a no-trade clause. Bradley Beal has a no-trade clause. And LeBron James. That's it. So it's going to be Booker. It's probably going to be Beal and whichever coach they fire next summer.
Yeah, most likely. Yeah, it's very likely Ishbia says that we're going to try and work around Devin Booker. So we're going to trade Kevin Durant for young guys and draft picks because we don't have any. So that would be ideal to have those. That's what it sure feels like. Who wants to coach there? That's a different question because it's a tumultuous situation. Which coach wants that locker room?
Yeah. Well, Bud did get a 5-year, $50 million contract.
Oh, yeah, Bud did well.
And he just got fired after 1 year, and you still get paid.
Yeah. He only lives, speaking of hours away from the city, he only lives, or he's from, just north of Phoenix, like less than 3 hours away.
Oh, you remember his press conference?
Cried.
He was pumped to be coaching the Suns, coming back, obviously, to Arizona. Yeah. The difficulty with the Suns in the start over game plan, I'm with you, it's they don't have their own picks. And it is extremely, extremely difficult to start anything over when you don't have your own picks. It is. So, that's why you keep going, they got to get their picks back. As with the Houston Rockets owning a majority of them. And it's maybe they will. Maybe that will be the KD or maybe the Booker. I think it's sort of TBD on how the Rockets fare here in the postseason and decisions they make moving forward.
But I don't think the Rockets should trade the Suns' picks for Kevin Durant. They should do it for Booker. Booker for sure.
Yeah.
But KD's not going to get back what they traded for him at this point. He had a good season, still an elite scorer, still a great defender, but his teams haven't been winning very much lately. Yeah. So he's not going to get quite the same return, I don't believe.
No.
Yeah, and the Rockets, it's a possibility that they call Phoenix. What's hilarious is that they have a pick swap this coming draft. I don't really get into pick swaps, but when you see somebody can use a pick swap, because Phoenix is so bad, and they get it, and they can use it immediately. Yeah. That was a weird 3-team deal that they got a pick swap. They got Phoenix's pick, and now they get to use it. Smart stuff there in Houston's front office.
Yeah, Phoenix is the only team that's their season is done. They're not in the draft lottery, and they are not in the postseason. Every other team has stuff going on right now.
That's where they're like, damn, we got to do something. Well, fire the coach, man. We'll get some headlines for a couple of days. All right, let's talk about the Pelicans because they fired basketball operations chief David Griffin on Monday. Team governor Gail Benson announced the news in a statement saying it was time for a fresh approach in New Orleans. ESPN reports that the Pels appear set to hire Joe Dumars to run basketball ops with a deal expected to be finalized by the end of the week. So, VP of basketball operations, David Griffin out. Joe Dumars possibly in. I guess he's tired of being the principal of the league, scolding beef stew every couple of months because that is his job in the front office of the NBA. He obviously was in charge of the Pistons for a very long time.
Damn it. We talked to him too late. We had him on the show a mere months ago.
Oh, you talked to Joe Dumars?
Yeah, we could have asked him, you want this Pelicans job? I wonder what he would have said. I guess he's looking for it's a very interesting situation. First of all, don't trade for DeJounte Murray. The last two GMs that trade for DeJounte Murray, they get axed. Our man Travis Schlenk in Atlanta, axed. Here, David Griffin. It's such an interesting scenario because if Zion Williamson plays, if he plays basketball under David Griffin, he doesn't get fired.
He plays in 66% of the games even.
That's right.
Sub 500.
That's a good number, sure.
Yeah.
There's no way David Griffin's fired if Zion Williamson is somewhat healthy because the team he built around Zion Williamson, it makes sense. It makes logical sense. But this scenario, I suppose it does make sense now to get new eyes in that front office.
Right.
Just to look at the whole thing differently. And you mentioned off the top potentially trading Zion Williamson or waiving Zion Williamson. No. I threw that in.
I know some news from Shams that Joe Dumars is signing and finalizing that deal right now.
Oh, good.
Joe, come on the show.
Yeah, excellent. Joe Dumars going back to Louisiana, baby. Went to McNeese State, which I just found out during March Madness.
Right.
Is in Louisiana. Yeah.
Wow. That should be his first move. They should sign Amir Khan to be their...
There we go. Vibes guy.
Vibes
Straight
guy.
vibes guy.
They got bad vibes.
They got the worst vibes.
Sometimes they have good vibes, but the overarching vibes. I think like day-to-day vibes, they can be good.
Yeah.
They need them. They need the aura.
Get rid of Baby Cake guy. What was
King Cake Baby. It's time for him. It's time for him to be out of here.
Yeah.
Okay, that's a
good trade. Amir Khan for Baby.
For King Cake Baby?
Yeah.
So the Pelicans did hire Griffin back in April 2019. This is a long time ago.
Yeah.
His first 4 months on the job, he drafted Zion Williamson with the #1 pick. I mean, they did win that. And then he traded, obviously, Anthony Davis to the Lakers for Brandon Ingram, Josh Hart, Lonzo Ball, and then 3 first-round picks. One of those picks was the #4 pick of that 2019 draft, which he turned around and flipped into the #8 pick, which they took Jackson Hayes with, so that was a bit of a miss. But overall, do you think Griff did a good job drafting TK? And this is just a part of, like, if Zion plays, he obviously has more success and is maybe still there, and he sort of got the short end of the stick? Or what do you think? Or is he overrated, to be honest?
I think everything you said is true. Okay. I think every part of it is accurate. Like, David Griffin did a great job of drafting. Getting Trey Murphy late in the first round is huge. Finding Jose Alvarado, huge. You're taking Zion Williamson with the #1 pick. Yves Missi looks like a solid player.
Herb Jones?
He drafted Dyson Daniels. Like, he drafted a lot of good guys. I kind of disagree. I don't think the team fits great around Zion Williamson, but also you didn't know exactly how you were building around him. But ultimately, he's paying the price, David Griffin is, for Zion's lack of availability. When Zion plays, they're over 500, 109 and 105. That's not great. But he's also played in less than 50% of the Pelicans games since he got there. The assets are good. The fit's okay. But the team is still built around a guy that you just can't rely on being there. So I think you factor in the Pelicans disappointing this season, the way things have gone with Zion, you just kind of have to move on, which makes me think maybe Joe Dumars will move on from Zion going forward. I wonder if that's why they bring him in. They're like, look, David Griffin and Zion, you came to the team together. You're tied together. Your fates are kind of intertwined. So I wonder if now we're getting Joe Dumars in here to clean things up, just like he did with the All-Star game.
I was waiting for that.
I think that's what it was. He was like, somebody's offering me something besides trying to talk these guys into playing hard at the All-Star game. I will do anything. I'll go work for New Orleans.
Yeah, I'll take it.
No, don't get him involved in marketing. I take it all back. Don't get him involved in marketing, because the problem with the NBA All-Star game was marketing. I mean, that wasn't his fault, but all those freaking shows that were happening during the NBA All-Star game, that was rough.
Is there a Zion Williamson trade then that you see? A team that like could talk themselves into trading for him, who has a couple years left on his deal? Obviously an elite talent when he plays, but man, it's a hell of a risk if you're doing that. So I don't know what the return would be. You have a squad?
I haven't really thought about Zion trades.
There are teams that would trade for him.
How about that?
No.
They got a top 6 pick coming in. And beat Paul George and Zion Williamson. Literally, who's going to play tonight? We'll see.
That's the crazy part. Like Zion Williamson, Brandon Ingram, and then DeJounte Murray. Like those guys, 3 All-Stars at certain points of their career, they never played a single minute together this season due to all the various injuries, all the various ailments. So, like, I mean, at that point, you're like, what are you going to do? And then in addition to all the other injuries for their other guys, like Trey Murphy III and Herbs Jones and stuff like that.
And a very near all-star in C.J. McCollum. And, you keep going down. There's good guys on that roster.
Yeah.
But I think Joe Dumars comes in and says, guys like C.J. McCollum, we just got to reposition this team.
CJ McCollum needs to be gone immediately. Yeah, and then, like that's not I'm not crapping on him, but like at this point of his career, like I should be a 6th man on a good team. That should be his role. He's a horrible defender. He's a liability out there. You make that move, and I think it is Joe Dumars come in and trade Zion Williamson. So we can start to get into that maybe as the weeks go on, but start coming up with those packages. I think they have to.
Like, they have to explore it at the very least.
They have to explore it. And I guess the other thing Griffin did, like the coaches wise, he had Elvin Gentry. And then he pivoted from him, and he had like the disaster with Stan Van Gundy. That was probably like a black eye on his resume there in the Pelicans. He fired him after 1 year, and I guess it's been Willie Green since. Mm-hmm. And by all accounts, he is going to keep this job, maybe until the new GM comes in or a new head of basketball operations and gets his own guy.
Exactly.
Maybe gets a year, right? I guess you could see that.
A trial year. Yeah. But usually a front office likes to pick their coach. But there have been rumors from Will Guillory and others that Willie Green is going to be safe and maybe Zion isn't. I do think Joe Dumars is a weird choice for the GM. Built a great team, no doubt about it. The second iteration of the Bad Boy Pistons that won a championship. And then as soon as they won a championship, basically everything was a disaster.
Yeah.
Starting with drafting Darko, number 2.
No, don't forget Charlie Villanueva.
Yeah.
That was good. Ben Gordon, not so good.
And he was there until like
Josh
2000.
Smith, like, he made ridiculous
he did.
moves after winning the championship.
He at times-
which was 20 years ago.
I was just going to say, and he was there like forever.
Yeah.
He was there from 2000 to 2014 with the Detroit Pistons franchise. He does feel like at times a little outdated, for sure, maybe at how he goes about approaching the team. But he just wants to get back to Louisiana, baby. Everybody, it's all about going home in the NBA.
That's right.
Ultimately, isn't it? So anyway, we'll get into Zion Williamson potential trades, I guess. I don't know, Brooklyn or some other desperate team. I don't know. As we get into the weeks here, moving forward, we got some other news here. Just quickly, the Sixers are retaining President of Basketball Operations Daryl Morey and head coach Nick Nurse. According to Daryl Morey. That's my favorite part of this. Hey, we're keeping me, and we're keeping him. Morey said this on Sunday. He's doing sort of his end-of-season press conferences. Rumors about their job security were swirling a little bit in the wake of a disappointing season for Philly, but ownership is apparently going to give them, the duo here, another shot next season. So they were, just like the Pelicans at least, destroyed by injuries to Embiid, to Paul George, then eventually Tyrese Maxey, but they're going to get another chance. Were you shocked at all by this, or do you think it's fair?
I mean, I was a little surprised just because I thought Nick Nurse in particular was more in the crosshairs than Daryl Morey would be, but with the way the Philadelphia season went, all the injuries, not knowing who's actually going to be available to play, I think understandable that Nurse would get another chance. Also, Daryl Morey's a really good drafter, and the Sixers have a good draft pick this year, so I think that's important. They'll have better continuity next year. They did last summer was the cap space plan. They changed over basically everybody outside of Embiid, Maxey, and Oubre, I guess, was around as well, stayed in the rotation, but everything else around it changed. So they're hoping for better continuity next year. They're also hoping for better health first and foremost next year. And like Morey mentioned, they got to get younger. Jared McCain was a great find. Justin Edwards has been a pretty solid, like, silver lining, I think, for this season for the Sixers. You're like, okay, that guy can be in the rotation going forward. Adem Bona, he's a decent backup. So I think it makes sense from Morey's perspective to, like, chase after guys who are going to be able to carry you when Embiid and when Paul George inevitably miss time. They're going to miss games. There ain't no way these guys are playing back-to-backs going forward. Yeah. But they have to have a commitment to try and play going forward, and they have to be able to have a backup who isn't Eric Gordon, who's like 10 years past his prime. Kyle Lowry, who is somehow still holding on. They need to have guys who can do stuff.
It was interesting to hear Morey basically acknowledge his mistakes, right? Yeah. He admitted, like, I think I got into the problem of looking too far ahead, looking at the postseason, thinking we need experienced guys, we need veteran guys, like all those guys you just named, but forgot about the 82 games to get you there. And it turns out it's helpful to have some youthful energy, guys that play, obviously, can bring it over the long rigor season of the regular season. And so, yeah, he admitted that, and he says next year we're going to be younger, more dynamic, and go from there. But we'll see if they keep their pick, too. I guess they have a 64% chance of likely keeping their pick.
Right. Yes, all that losing sure helped that prospect
that was an
keeping
epic
that
losing streak. That was impressive.
It was
to
impressive.
Be that bad.
Yeah, Nick Nurse was trying to get them to win. He was trying, so I support Nick Nurse coming back. The Daryl Morey, speaking of trying to get young, means they're not trading for Zion Williamson. They're not trading for guys that are old anymore. I mean, they basically set up a team like Kyle Lowry and Eric Gordon and Gershon Yabusele to support those big guys, the big names who obviously floundered. Unfortunately, they couldn't play basketball. So that's great. Daryl Morey will go younger. Because they do need athleticism. They need guys who will play basketball, essentially.
Yeah. And they have a 10.5% chance at the number 1 pick. That's how you get younger.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
You win the lottery and get Cooper Flagg.
Yep.
Throw him in the
youngest
mix.
guy in the draft.
That would help. So
Zion's only 24. 25 at the start of the
season. He's only 20. Wow, that's crazy. He feels like 5 years older to me. He feels like 29, 28, 29.
Yeah, he's still young. Great line from David Aldridge writing about Morey and Nurse coming back. I didn't know this. This is about 1970s. Daryl Morey brought back memories of the franchise's mea culpa after the 1977 season when the team featuring Dr. J and George McGinnis failed to deliver the championship. The Sixers started using the phrase, "We owe you one," in commercials promoting the next season.
Wow.
We owe you one. Bring it back.
That's good.
Yeah, but also kind of like, we sucked.
Yeah. Well, I mean, yeah.
Our bad. Sixers 25-26.
Yeah. But are they also saying, don't worry, we'll win a championship in 5 years because those Sixers, they did win.
83.
We
that's
owe
you one. That's awesome.
They owe you 2. And I mean 2 playoff round series wins. That's what the Sixers and Embiid owes everybody.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. He's never done that.
Yeah, you mentioned David Aldridge. You see Andre Drummond seeing David Aldridge and saying, wow, man, I see you on 2K all the time. That was pretty funny.
And didn't Aldridge make a joke like, do you skip me or don't skip me here?
Oh, I didn't hear
everybody
the joke.
Yeah. That was very funny. He got excited about Aldridge. He's like, oh, you're a real life guy. Cool.
You're real.
All right.
Also Joel Embiid just had surgery on his knee.
Yeah.
Don't forget.
Yeah. And Morey gave him a contract, the massive contract. And maybe you think that's a no-brainer because of the talent level he's at when he plays. But, he has this history of injuries and he had, didn't look all that incredible in the Olympics outside of like one short stint. You did that. Mm-hmm. And at least with the Zion thing, they had like, things written into the contract to sort of save your ass a little bit. Could have done that with Embiid again, but
yeah, that's why they could waive Zion Williamson to come all the way back. That because of the weight criteria that he has to hit to guarantee. Anyway, all that. This one's guaranteed for Joel Embiid. Although a long time ago he also had those stipulations in his initial extension. Now in this one, Daryl Morey said, "We're paying you." Yes, so. TBD, but yes, he's undergoing this early surgery to try and get better.
For the start of next season.
Yeah.
All right, we'll call it there. Tomorrow, we are going to start our Western Conference playoff previews. Things to watch for in each series, X Factors, predictions, just like today with the East. We'll also recap tonight's 2 7-8 play-in games. And one of those games, second half of Hawks versus Magic, we're going to jump on playback. That link is in the show notes. Click the link. Join us around, let's call it around 9 p.m. Eastern. Probably get ready for the second half. Hopefully we have a close game there in Orlando, and we'll enjoy that one together. So come hang out with your boys. Ash, unfortunately we didn't see or hear much from you today because the fit is fire. You still have it done up underneath your chin? Yeah, good.
Yeah.
Oh, you're choking yourself. It's a little tight?
It is a little tighter. I just threw it on whenever I felt like I was about to come back on the camera. So.
Do you have a lightsaber?
Yeah. Let me.
You do?
let's see what's going on.
All right. For the podcast list. Oh, he's got. Well, it's a real one.
Yeah.
Oh, damn.
You like that?
Come on, do some moves. Do some cool Yoda moves.
I don't know about that. It's just
okay. Wow.
Real tight back here. Real tight.
That's what you used when you got married. Was you used that lightsaber, right? Yeah, it was part of it.
Yeah, we had some. We had some at the wedding.
How many lightsabers do you have in your house?
Like 6 or 7.
Oh my god.
Wow.
But I mean, some of them I've had since I was like 10 years old, though.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Vintage.
And they still work.
Some of them.
Okay. Because this one has like I can hear little. When you whoosh it, does it make cool sounds or is it just?
Let's see.
It's just hitting the
just
duck pipe.
Oh.
All right, I guess.
Yeah, this one's a little janky.
Yeah. All right. Well, good stuff. Yoda Esh. We will see what he's wearing tomorrow. But otherwise, Clipper Bros.
You heard it here first. Have a great time. Turn up. Love you guys. Awesome.
Thanks for joining us. And remember, if Toronto Raptors Jamal Shed can learn the Canadian national anthem and sing it, you can try something new too.
Brace the day, people.